Go ahead.
I'll dig in. So I'm an industrial distributor. We specialize in fasteners and hardware for manufacturers. We have a website with eCommerce. We have, different suppliers that are connected to that manually that we, do drop shipping from our website. And then we have an ERP, which is Sage 50, which we've outgrown. So we're in the market for a new ERP. We've looked at Odoo, we'll look at Acumatica, we're looking at some of the ones that are within the fastener industry. And as part of that decision-making process, we want to understand, how to use a PIM, what it would do for us, and how that will play into the decision-making process of, upgrading our ERP. And so that's where we are. We did get a demo from our existing service provider who deals with Sage and Odoo, and we thought Odoo, we weren't very impressed with any of the reporting or any of the way it filters for like at the product level, which is, we're a product company as a distributor, so that's really the most important thing. And we were just underwhelmed, but it might have been the demo, whatever. So we're listening and learning mode. And then Rob, we would follow up with you on the Acumatica side and possibly the Odoo side if, like I said, the partner that we already kind of work with was like, it was underwhelming. So that's where we are. And this just piqued my interest because of where we are in that process. And I'm always wanting to learn from other people's learnings, right? So I don't have to start at the 0-yard line.
Yeah, well, I can say you're already in a really good place that you're considering combining this with updating an ERP system. Really smart, I think. So I'll give you a little background on our business and what we're going through too, because I think you'll be able to relate. So as Rob mentioned, we're all of our healthcare packaging. So we provide mostly medical device and pharmaceutical packaging to medical device and pharmaceutical manufacturers. So we are a packaging converter. So our products are things like pouches or lids that are used to maintain sterility of packaged devices. So that's what we do. Because we're in the healthcare space, our company is constantly growing pretty quickly. And we recently have been on a journey to consolidate to one single ERP system. So we've got several sites globally, all were operating on different ERP systems and are now gradually all going on to SAP. Okay. So as that started, we were kind of like you, or we thought this is also a good time to look at the advantages we could get from a PIM system. So I mentioned we're very much a growing company, and a lot of things that we've done in the past have been quite manual, and they've been okay that way. But as we've done a couple of acquisitions and have grown and have more sites globally, we've definitely felt that sort of loss of control over a lot of our product information. It was starting to be housed in different SharePoints, different folders, different networks, different brains. Especially because our products are so technical. So right. Between my team and our technical services team, we really needed this source of truth for all of our product information, so that we could properly create useful technical collateral that we felt good about, that had integrity. So we were looking for that source of truth. A central repository of information, but we also did want to make sure, to your point, that that would work with potentially an ERP system, but also with our sales system. So we are also B2B, as I mentioned. We are not currently integrating our new PIM system with SAP, not that we might not in the future, but for the way our business works, we decided it would make more sense to ensure that our PIM system can be integrated with CRM. So Microsoft platform that our sales team uses and also our pricing team uses, which is integrated with our SAP system. So we're not directly integrating our PIM system, but through a couple XML API avenues, we anticipate the information and data we're holding in PIM to be a source of truth for SAP, but also for a future customer portal, which will sort of be our version of an e-commerce platform. So our products are custom for every customer, at the SKU level anyway. So that's a big reason we didn't see needing to integrate our platform directly with ERP, but integrate it directly with CRM. And then from there, depending on how we implement this e-commerce solution, we'll have our source of truth talk or communicate to that, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I think that's an important piece to consider too. I'm not sure what your sales team uses, but there's definitely a benefit to integrating with your sales platform as well, depending on how all your e-commerce stuff shakes out.
Can I ask, when you say you wanted to, you want a central repository for information, and we're technical too, because we're selling fasteners and hardware to manufacturers. I mean, our stuff is SpaceX, but it's going to Mars, and so we have a lot of certifications. And what's unique about ours is we like one product might have like 10 aliases by different manufacturers, so that's important for us to be able to have those cross-reference tables available. But what can you tell me what you mean by, or what type of information is in that central repository? What are you talking about? Do you have flyers? Do you have, what do you have?
We have a couple different things. So we have a couple different, I'll call them tables or databases in our PIM system that are truly just all product information. So names of materials and products, some sort of high level technical information, things like material thickness or oxygen transmission rate, like very technical things that our customers care about that we wanted to be able to automatically put onto what we call data sheets, kind of like a product specification sheet. So our PIM system has a template for a couple of different reports that we use those tables to populate. We also use those tables to populate some of our information in CRM that gets our sales team started on being able to do quotes and projects. So they're basically giant tables that hold a bunch of product information. We do also have, though, a repository in our system for more static pieces of collateral that we're not necessarily using the PIM system to design and create, but we are using it to hold as a source of truth. And then we also can link those files directly into CRM for access from our sales team or other stakeholders in the business that have that CRM access. So it's being held as a source of truth for information that gets pulled onto collateral or pushed to other platforms, but also as a source of truth for pieces of product collateral or whatever we think is appropriate to hold there to make sure that's the source of truth as well. So right now, those sorts of files, those static documents or pieces of collateral, they're being accessed by stakeholders in the business by a URL simply that gets pushed to CRM. But we will also be using that same URL in the future for customer portal / e-commerce or potentially some other areas like our website as well.
Haley, question, like, so blogs, product flyers, pictures, other data that isn't maybe table, but data, it's content or other types of files, is that held in your CRM? I mean, in your PIM, rather?
Yep. That's kind of what I mean by static pieces of collateral. Yep. And you can upload some of that information right into those more technical tables too. So like images that we want just directly on our data sheets, I can put those into that table to be pulled on to those dynamically created reports, if that makes sense.
Right. So basically, let's say you're meeting with someone and they want X product with Y features. You can just click the filters and click and drag or whatever it is. Here's the picture. Here's the features. You can create data sheets, or no, it's not that. It's more for pricing. Like, Help me understand that a little bit more.
Yeah. So in the system that we use, there is like a PDF reporting tool. So what we do is design what we want that report to look like, and we tell that report to pull certain fields that are back in the PIM database.
Got
So
it.
I'll then say, I need a data sheet on product X. And that template is going to automatically pull all the information I want it to pull that's related to that line item and compile a
Got it.
report for me. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, and then how does that's perfect. That's makes perfect sense. And then how does that relate to pricing, Haley? Like how does all of the PIM relate to pricing, or does that
So
live somewhere
our
else?
our business has that as a separate function, because all of our SKUs are technically custom per customer. So like in our world, a product doesn't equal a SKU. A product equals what a customer is going to take and then
Like an
customize
assembly,
into a
right?
SKU. Yeah, exactly. Like our customer, we're going to say, this is our pouch. But then the customer is going to say, well, I want this artwork on it. I want it this size. I
Right.
need these specialty things on it. And so that's where pricing comes in. So
Got
what
it.
we manage in our PIM system is all of that sort of high level product information that is then communicated to CRM. A sales rep will say, I want to quote this product. And then the pricing team takes it the step further to customize it and give the actual price. But we are controlling all of that upfront information that the pricing team needs in our PIM system.
I
Let
understand they're
me
the variables, so to speak,
hang,
right?
hang on 1 second, Robin. Let me introduce Jason Scarpelli. He is from Gorman Rupp, and he is they are the what are you, the pump people is the catch line, right? So
Right.
Gorman Rupp produces pumps, and we just worked with him on his PIM, and he might have a take on it for you as well. So welcome, Jason.
Thank you.
Hi,
Sorry I was
Jason.
late. Hello. Had some internet issues and then Zoom wanted to update, so apologize for being late.
It always wants to update. So
Yep.
the question here is, right, what are you using inside of your PIM, right, to and are you using it to update pricing, and how are you using it on your e-commerce website, Jason?
Yeah. So we don't do anything with pricing, per se in the PIM. So we do integrate with SAP. We use MuleSoft as our middleware to integrate between all of our systems. So we have an API built out in MuleSoft that runs basically on a schedule. That goes out and calls SAP, gets back our SKU data, well, a small subset of our SKU data that includes the pricing. That pricing then gets sent over to the PIM and stored in the PIM at that point. And then we have some other MuleSoft APIs that get called from our e-commerce site that pulls that data into our e-commerce site.
Yeah, so I think you make a great point, Jason and Haley, right? It's really unusual for a PIM to be a pricing source of truth, right? It's generally pulled out of the ERP or some pricing engine, or in your case, Haley, right, a custom quote from a pricing team. The PIM is really about all the data that surrounds it that would make up whatever it is that you're pricing, whether that's at a SKU level, a custom delivered item, or parts or kits or whatever, right? So I hope that answers your question, Robin.
It does. I was just curious about how people are using it, just because I don't have it, right? So I'm just trying to understand.
No.
But yeah, that does make perfect sense.
The questions are great, right? And I think that's the point Haley was making around, look, if you're looking at an ERP at the same time, right, this is a good time to think about what houses your data where, right? We've got a customer right now that we've been working with, and I really need to talk to them about PIM because they're out creating essentially custom coding that's costing them quite a bit more than the PIM. Even though they're spending it with me, I feel a little bad that, guys, you really need to slow down and you need to think about where you want this data to actually be. So, okay. Hey, Jason, why don't you just introduce yourself quickly, and a little bit about your company so we catch you back up.
Sure. So Jason Scarpelli, my title is Commercial Integration Manager. So I've worked with, I've been with GRC for a little bit over a year now. We were actually part of a company. We were just bought by GRC back in last June. Part of Philwright, that was Tuthill Corporation. So I came over as part of that sale over to the GR team and supporting right now mostly Philwright, but really I'm part of Gorman Rupp's IT. So I've been with the Philwright, this division of Philwright, I've in their systems for 20 plus years, but just a part of Gorman Rupp for just a little over a year. Have just maintaining all the websites, so managing a team that maintains the websites, integrations with EDI, the PIM, and everything else that we integrate into.
Got it.
Awesome.
Got it. And then do you have an e-commerce website?
We do.
no?
So we actually have a B2C site, and we also host a B2B site. So we go straight to consumer, and that's where there's some caveats with the pricing that we're getting back to before. So we do load list price into the PIM, and that's what kind of gets displayed to our B2C site, to our direct to the customer. And on the B2B site, we don't hold any of that because it's really customer. The pricing for those SKUs are customer specific, depending
Sure.
on their level of how much they buy from us and all these other factors. So we have direct APIs on our B2B site that kind of bypass the PIM and go right into the ERP. So we don't really hold that portion for that because it's a little bit more dynamic and more complex to hold in, like the Magento site. Our e-commerce site is Magento, Adobe Commerce in the PIM. So we go right direct to the ERP.
Got it. And what other types of data do you keep, content-wise, videos, pictures, technical data? What else do you keep in the PIM, and how is that stored?
Yeah, in the PIM, so we have all that. We have static images for, we have primary images and slider images, thumbnail images, similar to, we've based our websites or e-commerce sites kind of like how Amazon has it. You have your basic hero image for each SKU, and then all the thumbnails you can click on underneath. We have videos. We're looking now to start uploading or using 360s. We're not sure if we're storing those in the PIM or if we're going to just use something Magento for that, but that's something we're exploring now. But we have documents related, like technical documents, spec sheets related to each SKU. So we have all that. We have all the bullet point information, some, like I said, basic pricing, technical information on there that gets displayed and all pulled into the attributes into our e-commerce site.
What were you doing before the PIM? Was it just in different places? Like, how did that work previously?
It was, I think we had everything was kind of all over the place, and that's how we kind of wanted a PIM for this project that we undertook a couple years ago, to have everything in one repository. So we had some information in SAP, but then we had price sheets and other technical data in Excel spreadsheets. And then I think there was actually a separate SQL database outside of all the other databases that had some of like the engineering data for our SKUs. So it was kind of all over the place. So that's why we went to MuleSoft, which was an integration engine that could take all this data, massage it all together and then place it in the PIM. So then we have one kind of view of everything for our products.
Who has access to the PIM?
So for us, we have product engineers, product management team. We have customer service can even get in there. Let's see, we do have, and then that's pretty much it. We do have some higher level people in there, but they don't really go in there that often. We also, for us, since we are in the retail space as well, and most of our the way we sell is through distribution. We have our distributors, and some of our retailers need to get assets for their store displays or brochures that they're creating. So we do allow external access to users via SSO through a different portal that we built out in Salesforce, actually, that they can get in their access in a read-only fashion, so they can just pull the data. But as far as maintaining the data, it's basically our product managers and e-commerce and marketing teams and product engineers.
Got it.
How about that for you, Haley? Who uses the system in OHCP?
Yep, somewhat similar to Jason. So our product management team, and we call it technical services, but very similar to what I think Jason describes as a product engineer. So those two groups have access to the PIM system directly. Just a couple of them act as admins, but there's others who have like edit access and can manipulate the data. And then somewhat similar also to Jason is internal and external stakeholders do have access to assets read-only that we want them to have access to by creating those URLs in CRM. So our internal stakeholders have direct access to that set of URLs right in CRM, but they can also send those URLs, or they could download the file, but they could also send that same URL to a customer, say, and they could open it as well.
Got it.
No, that's cool.
Cool.
And then Haley mentioned she creates product data sheets directly out of the PIM. Jason, do you have any similar need to be able to do that at Gorman Rupp? Do you use product data sheets that way?
You know, I think that haven't been involved with it, but I know some of the marketing and e-commerce team have been working on something like that. There's was like the comment connector or something, I believe, that goes into Content Service PIM that they were working on a data sheet project. So they are doing something like that for other, their publications and whatnot. So I haven't been really part of that project, but I think they are using that. Yeah.
Well, what I wanted to do is just point that out. I think it's a really good example of why a PIM is a source of truth, right? So, Robin, I would suspect in your industry, there's a lot of product data sheets, right? You take a fastener and then every aspect of it has to be lined out, and you want to be able to have that in a simple form. And typically it's a PDF. PIMs can generate.
We have 20 attributes at least generally, so
Right.
that's it, right?
And then as you update them, right, you don't have to go and update them in multiple places. So PIM systems will go create these product data sheets for you with whatever the most up-to-date technical information is. So that's often a big reason companies like to use them, because as their technical information changes and it's in the PIM, they have one place to go look for it.